One of the things about our lives is we go through a great many struggles. And after all, that's what life is. Life is a roller coaster of ups and downs. And how we deal with it is a lot of people tend to think, oh, I'm going to avoid it or pretend that it doesn't exist. Or maybe you get lost in pleasing other people. Listen, this is Anne Marie, your host of About This Life podcast. About This Life is a story. We good, Daniel? Back on? Okay. About This Life podcast, it's about taking a look at our belief system, taking a look at why we believe the things that we do, and to have a mindset shift. Why are those so important? Because we want to add more life to our days. We want to live not from a place of survival, but from a place of thriving and enjoying our lives. So, my guest today is Daniel Anderson. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am great, thank you. I'm looking at that lovely Christmas tree behind you with the twinkly lights. And now, is that real or is that a virtual background?
That's real.
Okay, awesome sauce. And so I just love this time of year. This time of year, it tends to bring out the joy in many people, but also there can be sadness at this time of year as well. Daniel, one of the things that should introduce you to our audience is that you are a personal alignment coach and you created something called the Legacy Code. But before we get into why in the world do we need a legacy code, it sounds so wonderful. Before we get into that, there's there's something about life that the wounds that happen to us or occur in our lives, they become pearls of wisdom. So you have some scars in your life, and I'm going to let you begin with any one of them because you've been through some things, Daniel. So you tell me which one do you want to begin with because that became the wisdom that you walk in right now.
Well, the best place to start really is at the beginning. Um, I was a, I am, I should say, a Gen Xer, so I've been kind of forced to be an adult since grade school, since like first grade. Um, you know, we were never allowed in the house. We were feral children until the street lights came on. Um, Great time. Glad the internet wasn't around back then. Um, yeah, I had a lot of childhood trauma that I had to overcome. Um, you know, some abandonment issues and other things that I had to work myself through. A lot of people telling me that I would never amount to anything in this life. Was worthless. And when you start hearing that all the time, it really starts to sink in and you really start to believe it. And you think it's your own thoughts when it's actually other people's projections onto you. So I lived that way for a very, very, very long time. Um, just settling for dead end jobs, relationship that didn't work for me. I ended up marrying a woman who I just should have been friends with. Um, Things happened. We did have a wonderful child together. He's now 20. And when he was 9 years old, her addictions finally caught up to her and she overdosed and died in the middle of the night, and he found her.
Oh my goodness. So Daniel, I have to pause here. I was telling the truth when I said there were many points, and you have just laid out the groundwork. You've laid out so many things, so many ideas that a lot of people go through. And before we continue with your beautiful son, share a little bit more about people putting you down and digs. Was that from loved ones? Was that from educators or teachers, from your family, from other children? Who was doing that?
All of the above. Um, I got it from my parents quite a bit. Um, Now I know they didn't really mean it, and it was said in anger when they said it, but and like trying to motivate me, but you can't motivate somebody by saying they're a worthless piece of junk. And I'd heard that a lot. So, and it was carried through to my school years. I didn't believe in myself, so I didn't really fully put myself out there. So then the teachers thought I was not going to amount to anything. I was bullied a lot as a kid. Didn't have a lot of friends because I felt like I was different, and I knew that I was meant for more and I was going to be worth something. But again, hearing it from colleagues, hearing it from people that like did work for my family's business, and like hearing if you had a brain, you'd be dangerous and all
Mhm.
that other stuff. So yeah, it was a little bit from all angles, really.
It's amazing to me because what you're speaking to is the power of words.
Absolutely.
And I just, here's what I love about everything you just said. You said you knew that you were meant for more. And no matter the dirt, the metaphor is being like buried in a whole lot of dirt or a whole lot of dung. But the thing is, I've seen it on the internet where it says they didn't know that they were burying a seed, and that seed will come out and grow and become something much more amazing. So you're hearing these words as you're growing and your most formative years by all different directions. Something else you mentioned, Daniel, as part of your story is your ability to choose a relationship. At what point did you realize this is not a relationship you should have chosen? And what did you do about it?
Every single time it was too late. That is when I figured it out. Um, I tried to put my all in every single relationship I was in, because I had such a low image of myself. I was trying to find love in other people, and really, you can't do that. Um, people do say, you can't love another person until you love yourself. And well, yeah, what does that mean though?
Hmm.
Um, Finally figured that out that, you know, we have to embrace everything inside of ourselves in order to and change the way we are inside in order to change the way things look on the outside. So, you know,
Absolutely.
you can't expect somebody else to love you when you don't love yourself. So, my first relationship, it was wonderful and it lasted for 3.5 years. And, um, I guess I just tried holding on to it too tight and it ended. And then I drifted for a while, found somebody else and didn't try so hard. And I guess I didn't try hard enough that time and it ended. Um,
And isn't
Third
that what
one,
yeah, and isn't that
yeah,
what we tell ourselves that I tried and I put all this work in and was I just not enough for you? So that's what I'm hearing of your life at that time before you came to the self-realization. And the third relationship?
ended up becoming my wife. Um, We had great times for a while, and then she fell into addiction, and
Mm,
that became more important to her than our child and myself. And he started making up things about me. And one day she just walked out on me with and took my son and went to her parents' house and left me a note.
mm,
Um, and then the fun started when she's like, "Yeah, we can have an amicable divorce. We won't. I don't need an attorney. You don't need to get an attorney." And then 5 minutes after I heard that, I get a knock on the door and was served papers from her attorney. So,
mm.
um,
I feel the sting of that.
yeah, it hurt a lot, because I thought we could at least still be friends. But no, then she started accusing me of the most horrible things you can accuse a person of. I had many visits with CPS, Child
Mm,
Protective Services, and
yes.
she, it seemed like every time I lost a job, which was pretty often because not only my relationships were affected by everything that I believe was my jobs too. Um, so every time I would end up losing a job, he would decide, well, I'm not going to be getting child support from this man, so he's not going to see his child. And it happened
Mm.
more times than I can shake a stick at.
Okay, I
It
need a
got
pause. I need a
Mhm.
pause because I need to breathe. Daniel, you're the man that lived it.
Yes, I sure am. There's
But
not
I
much that I
but
haven't.
but just listening to you, I I'm feeling, what am I feeling? I'm it's almost like I'm feeling your pain. I'm feeling the sting, the sense of insecurity and weaponizing your child against you. And it's it's like people prophesizing into your life, but all of the negative things, all of the horrible things that can possibly happen. And CPS and that whole journey and being familiar with that to understand what you're going through emotionally. Oh my goodness. Is it any wonder many of us would have a breakdown, Daniel? Did you break down at any point because of just the weight of the world on you?
I had a breakdown every other Sunday because I had my son when he was little, uh, for a couple hours, 2 days a week, and every other weekend. And I had a breakdown every time I had to drop him back off at her house on Sunday.
Mm.
Would usually cry the entire way home. Um, and yeah, so I did finally have a massive breakdown at the end of another relationship. Um, he was this person was ended up using me for a
Hmm.
place to live and using me for money and using me for everything and lied about her working and all this other stuff. And she was a secret alcoholic. And one day I was at work and I came home and all her stuff was gone. And yet again, another note on my coffee table. And
Did she
at
know
that,
about the first note by
hmm
any chance? She did.
yeah, yeah. And,
Mm.
basically, she had taken all the money that I'd given her to go towards rent and spent it on booze and other crap. Um, so I was far behind on rent and didn't even know it. So I ended up getting evicted. And before I ended up losing my house, I was sitting on my couch. And because yet again, I had lost another job and lost that woman, now I was looking at losing my apartment. My wife pulled the same thing. Ex-wife pulled the same thing again and took my kid away from me. So jobless, looking at homelessness, childless, helpless, hopeless.
Hmm.
And I'd always had these thoughts, we get that negative voice once in a while screaming at us, you aren't worth anything and you should just end it. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was very, very close. I was trying to come up with a plan, how I would do it. I felt like I was just on the verge of doing it, and then like crying and I'm shaking, and then all and getting all this yelling in my head, and all of a sudden I felt this complete peace.
Peace.
And a different voice come through saying, everything is fine. You're not alone. This is where things start to change. Snap out of it.
You're not
So
alone. That's such an essential message. Before you share more of your story, I'm looking over your shoulder. There's a dream catcher there.
yes, it's
And in
actually
some
it.
place, yeah, go ahead. Tell us about the
Oh
dream
yeah,
catcher.
I actually got it at a craft fair that was run, and it was, all the vendors were Native American. So it's kind of the real deal. It's not something from Walmart or. And
Yes.
I saw it and kept going back to it and looking at it. And finally my wife is like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." So it goes with my all of my other stuff that I got around here. I got 2 tables full of crystals. I've got pendulums everywhere. I've got
Hmm.
oracle cards. I got pretty much everything. And all that came around in the last couple of years, actually.
Yeah, and the story behind the dream catcher, I've heard it both ways. I've heard it, it's to keep the evil spirits away. So they get caught up in the web. But I've also heard it, is to allow good spirits to come in. So I've heard it described as both. Um,
Absolutely.
yes. So dream catchers, crystals, Christmas tree. Daniel, you're a man of faith and
I
you're a
am.
man of belief. And the turning point and even the reason for your starting the legacy code and becoming a personal alignment coach, you're looking at eviction, you're looking at being abandoned yet again. You hear this voice tell you it's going to be okay. How did you start on your healing path? Because you had homelessness before, life turned around. So
Hmm.
uh, how did how did your journey take you to healing?
It first started with my best friend. Um, he's more than that. He's my brother and person I've known since seventh grade. Um, he talked to me and he's like, you know what? I don't care what my wife says. I'm going to have you come and stay with us until you can get back on your feet. So here I am. I move in with him and his wife and 2 children and ended up being there for a couple months. And, that really saved me. So I wasn't like out on the street, but I was still, you know, had a shelter, but it wasn't my home. It was his.
Hmm.
And that was, the beginning of a light change for me. And this was actually now going on 14 years ago. So I ended up finding an apartment. He threw me another lifeline by loaning me some money to go towards the rent, first month rent. And I got the apartment before I got hired on to a job just because of faith. And
Yes.
within 2 weeks after moving into my own place again, finally, I landed a job with the largest school district in Wisconsin, which was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fast forward a couple years, and I ended up meeting the woman who is my now wife and my soulmate
Okay.
and my twin flame and my twin soul.
I love happy endings.
And the thing is, her and I have known each other too since middle school. We
Okay.
knew of each other, but didn't really know each other.
Yes.
And because of my job at the school district, first I was a contractor, and then they were going to hire us on. And I am a diabetic and didn't have insurance, so I couldn't take care of my sugars very well for the longest time, and needed a doctor to get that under control, to get hired, to get the insurance, but I needed the insurance to get, you know how that
Good.
story goes.
The circle.
Hmm. And she had started following me on Facebook, and she sent me a message after I posted something like that. She's like, you know what? I work for Aurora Healthcare, where she'd worked at the time. And she's like, we got a lot of free clinics. How about we meet up sometime and we can talk about it? So 2014, Labor Day, meet her at a Starbucks it was, he met my son and I there, and um, we got to talking. We spent about 20 minutes talking about the
Hmm.
um, insurance stuff and the clinics and whatnot. And the remaining almost 3 hours just catching up and talking about each other and getting to
Hmm.
know each other. And left. And my son's like, she's really cool, Daddy. You should ask her out on a date. And an hour after we left each other, she had called me. And I said, my son said this, and how about we go out on a date? And we did 5 days later. Date lasted 27 hours, and
Hmm.
we've been together ever since.
Ever since, from the mouths of babes. Okay, so Daniel, you are a walking testimony. When you look at your life, you have shelter that's your own. You are surrounded by things that bring you peace and comfort. How did you move? Your life is the testimony that's needed for the legacy code. What kind of legacy are you trying to leave us with?
I am trying
That's,
to leave this world a better place than when I came in it. Um,
mm-hmm,
the reason I ended up becoming a coach is kind of funny, and the reason why I started what turned into my spiritual awakening
yes.
is even more funny. One of my hobbies, I've always had a lifelong fascination with the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So for a while, I was on a few different paranormal investigation teams, and I knew I had gift even when I was a kid, but they scared me at the time because I didn't know what they were, and so I bottled them up. I started a spiritual journey trying to reconnect with my intuition, with my wares,
Mm-hmm.
with my abilities and everything else. And just to be a better paranormal investigator. And I had no idea it would lead me to spirit communication through pendulum work, um, getting my calling. I had no idea what a life coach was 2 years ago,
Okay,
or three
before we
years
even
ago.
go to life coach, wait, hold a minute, wait up, hold up.
Yeah.
All the things. Because you mentioned it paranormal investigator like it. No, it's not everyday common knowledge. What in the world is a paranormal investigator? What do you do, Daniel?
I say it like it's no big deal because to me it really isn't. Um, I grew up in a house that was haunted. I have seen,
Mm,
heard, and experienced way too much for people to say, "Oh, ghosts don't exist." You know,
hmm.
we only see, one hundredth of the actual spectrum out there.
Yes,
And
okay.
there's so much that we can't see that are really there. Look at dogs. They can see in different, you know, frequencies and different whatever else. And, they sense different things than we do. And um now
True,
what I
true.
what
Now that you said that, animals sense things differently.
yeah, so saying that there's not somebody around us at all times is like taking a spoonful of ocean water and saying there's no such thing as sharks because you can't see one in that spoonful of water.
Yes, right. I get it. I get it. One of the things that I've incorporated in my practice and for our audience and our listeners, and when we think about our faith and our spirituality. Of course, we are believers. We believe in God. And in my particular faith, I believe in Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. Ooh, where would I be without Jesus? I've noticed, however, that when it comes to mindfulness, when it comes to meditation, there's an opportunity to feel from the inside, and I attribute that to the Holy Spirit. But then there's a whole spectrum in terms of angels and paranormal and spirit guides and even in African American history we call it hoodoo. um, and
Mhm.
I've been very well aware and educated by a person named Dr. Ori. So let me shout out Dr. Ori of Ori Wellness, ORI. And you can find her on Instagram to bring into awareness that these things, these spirits exist. So you're saying to me here that you're able to tap into that. And
Yeah.
when you tap into that, what do you hope to find or discover? How do you use it for good? Because that's our legacy in this world is to use something for good, to be on the side of
Mhm.
light. So how do you use it for good?
So I'm going to go off into a little bit of a tangent by saying, yes, I believe in Jesus. Yes, I believe in
Hmm.
God. I know angels exist. I know God exists. I know Jesus existed and exists. And I know this because being through my awakening that happened very quickly, um, and through my use of a tool like a pendulum and
Hmm.
and getting myself into connection with those higher levels of existence and those higher planes, you know, I've I found I found my purpose. It was through that, it was an angel that came and said, your purpose in this life is to be a life coach. And at first I was like, what? What's that?
Mm.
And
Yeah,
how
what's
they
that?
talk to me. Let me quick show you something really quick. This is
Okay.
a pendulum divination
Yes.
board, and this is one of my many, 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 many pendulums.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ground myself, I bring up my vibration, I get aligned, and I start, you know, by doing a protection practice to make sure nothing evil wants to come through. And then it starts moving around and it starts spelling out things. And as it's spelling, I hear their voice coming through me. And it's me holding my hand perfectly steady, like this. And it spells out different words and different phrases. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
your first one was, you're to become a life coach, you need to start a business. It was like, okay, who am I to
Mm-hmm.
question the divine? And so, how do I use it for good? Um, Well, one thing that happened to me is I found that, I found myself. I got rid of that angry voice that was in my head yelling at me all the time. I cleared the
Mm,
noise in my head. I'm able now to go on a platform such as yours and tell my story without being scared of
mm-hmm.
ridicule or anything. I know how to take my story and make it one of hope because if I can get through all this stuff that I went through
Yes,
and be who I am right now, anybody can.
anybody can. You're a dream. It's like you are a living dream catcher. You have a dream catcher hanging up on the wall behind you, but you are the living version of it, Daniel. You are I I heard prayer of protection to keep the evil out, and then allowing the spirits and the guides to speak with you. You are the dream catcher, so to speak. Yeah, so anybody can. And so your purpose now is to help others come into alignment with themselves. But don't
Mhm.
let me tell it. You go ahead and tell it. What do you do now?
Well, first I'm going to start with this. And it was a quote from Rumi
Hmm.
centuries ago. When I searched for God, I found only myself. But
Hmm.
when I found myself, I found God.
Yes.
And the thing, the thing is with most organized religions is they, especially the Catholic religion, and I'm
Hmm.
not going to
Hmm.
disparage anybody for their beliefs or anything because I was a Catholic and I
Hmm.
moved on to Christianity and I've, never found God in any church, because
Hmm.
at least with Christianity, back when I was going, it wasn't about connection with God. It was all about our separation from Him and how
Hmm.
everything's a sin and you're a sinner and guilt and all that. And that's not what God is.
Condemnation, guilt
Yeah,
and condemnation. Yes,
that's not what God is.
that's
God
not who
is
God
nothing but
is.
love. No, God is love. Plain and simple. God is not a bearded
God
man
is
up in the
love.
sky. God is our truest self. We are a physical, each and every one of us are a physical embodiment of God.
Yes,
Because what we have out here, this shell that we're in, is not us. Our body is not us. What we do is not us. What
yes.
our name is not us. I am is what is us.
I am is what is us. I'm in agreement with that. And that our bodies are expressions of what we can do in terms of being guided by God to help whomever God wants to help. You know,
Mhm.
whoever we come into contact with, into our experience. God is lighting the path in terms of who we speak to, and we are to be expressions of his light. Amen.
Exactly.
Amen.
Yeah.
We just
You
had
know,
a whole sermon.
when when we when we really find ourselves is when we really feel that connection to our source, our Father, our God. No matter what you want to call him, no matter what you believe in, it's all the
Yes.
same and it's all the light and the love in us.
It's all the light. It is all the love. And I am repeating what you're saying because, sometimes when you're listening to a podcast or looking at it, your brain is filtering words coming in and so on and so forth. And I want to emphasize some of the points that you're bringing, that God is light and God is love. And part of your services as an alignment coach is you work with others. and you help them through the process and the journey, so they can see for themselves, so that they can see themselves. My question for you, is I noted that you work a lot with women. And
Yep.
is that by design? Is that by divine guidance? Are there men who, probably because men may not seek you out? How did we get to who do you work with?
I am really seriously in touch with my divine feminine side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've always been able to talk, seems like, and always been better friends with women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and unfortunately, for men, women are more open to learning and experiencing what really could be. Men sometimes just have this concrete view of life. Men have to be tough. Men can't, you know, do this. Men have to act a certain way. Um, Spiritual growth is nonsense, all that sort of stuff. So, you look at like the world of like mediums and mystics and spiritual believers and whatever, 99% of them are women
Mm-hmm.
and like healers and, because again, men, we all were taught to think a certain way, but, I think females are more open to the possibilities
The different
and sometimes,
possibilities. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then, and just we all can feel lost, but it's, I think, harder for men to seek out help and guidance in finding their way again.
So in 2026, here's the hope and the prayer, because mental health among men is so greatly, greatly needed, that we can reach a point where men understand that some of the things they were taught as little boys, they need to let go some of those beliefs. If not let it go, at least question it, and to be able to see a different path for themselves. So I understand in terms of offering your services, and people will be able to get in contact with you and to reach out. So definitely, in closing, how's your 20-year-old son? The matchmaker.
He's doing well. You know, he's been through it. He's the one that found his mom, unfortunately, when he was 9 years old. That was
Mhm.
one of the worst phone calls I've ever had to experience. But you know, things have improved greatly once he came to be with me full time. Of course, he went through the teenage and middle school years where he just kind of lost hope in himself and, all that stuff. But that turns out that everything he's gone through was all part of his human design, how he's wired and,
Yes.
he's just still trying to figure out life for
Mhm.
himself and, trying to find direction and find a job that he can hold. But, he's gone through a lot. He's gone through the ringer way too much for somebody who's his age. And
Yes.
I hope that he can see in me that all the stuff that I had gone through to be where I am now, that there's hope for him yet.
Yes, that anything is possible and that there is hope. Yes, and amen. Give us that line from Rumi again. Um, do you remember what you said?
I sure do. I use it
Okay.
often.
Okay, give us
When
that
I
line
search,
again.
when I searched for God, I found only myself. But when I found myself, I found God. And the meaning of that is when you search for God everywhere but inside, you're never going to find him. When you search for love, anywhere but inside, you're not going to find it. When you search for happiness or success or anything,
Mm-hmm.
if you look around everywhere with the same mindset and the same belief that puts you in the
Mm-hmm.
negative situation you're in, you're going to keep experiencing it. And that actually is my second favorite quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer. May he rest in peace.
Yes.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
The things you look at change. Two pearls of wisdom. So, on that note, we want to say thank you so much, Daniel Anderson, for bringing your wisdom to us. How do people get in contact with you?
You can reach me by email, Daniel at coachdanielanderson.com. My website is Daniel, HTTPS, coachdanielanderson.com. And I can send you a few links for a couple goodies that I've written that would be very helpful for your audience. If you wanted to get those and put them in your show notes.
Oh, definitely. We can include them there. It would be my pleasure.
Okay.
Yes, that would be wonderful. So I want to say how wonderful it is to connect with you, to have this conversation with you, to offer people a different perspective. And for the women who are your clients or potential clients, the idea also is very often a woman will talk to another woman, but in this case, a woman, it's always interesting to me to get the male perspective on things. And
Mhm.
certainly in terms of your story, as we said from the onset, has included so many things that just being a human being people go through in terms of where their shadows are, where those pain points are. So thank you for being a guest. To my audience, I want to say to you, please, if any of this resonates with you, please like, subscribe, and share. We would love more people to understand the message that Daniel is bringing to everyone. And we want more people to find their healing, to go on their path. This is Anne Marie, and of course, I'm on all the socials, IG, about this life underscore Anne Marie, YouTube, audio streaming, all the 9 yards. Anne Marie, host of About This Life, where we are changing our lives one day at a time. Take care, everybody. All right, Daniel. Oh my goodness, that was such a tremendous. Let me just move this mic out of my way. I just loved hearing your story. I cringed and I felt I had a visceral reaction to, oh my dear Lord, all the things that you've been through. So I truly, truly love happy endings. Not to say life is not without its struggles right now, because we
Exactly.
all know it still is, but to see that you're able to be in a healthy place, in a safe place where there is love.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so thank you. I can tell.